So you'll see a couple of rainbow effects here. Look really nice. The fan blades doing a really good job diffusing that light. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Coolermaster Hyper 620S. I did receive this cooler directly from Coolermaster, but I want you to know that any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this cooler or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Here's a peek at the retail box and packaging. Everything looks great. They walk you through some key tech specs and features. So we have 6 heat pipes, what they call intuitive ARGB detection, so I'm excited to see that in action. And we have our dual tower heatsink design. If you're wondering about sockets, for you AMD users out there, AM4 and AM5 supported. And for you Intel users, the latest and greatest LGA 1700, as well as the previous gen LGA 1200 as well, and a couple additional options for you Intel socket users out there. Now let's go ahead, let's open this up and look at the contents. Here are all the contents. First up, we have our product literature with our 2-year warranty card, followed by our user guide and manual. This walks us through everything we need to know about getting our cooler installed, whether it's Intel or AMD, and how to connect all of our RGB and fan cables. Moving right along, you'll see we have our hardware kit here with all the brackets and everything that we need. We also have our fan adapter here too, a nice splitter for us. And you'll see we have thermal paste included. This is their CryoFuse thermal compound. And then lastly, we have the cooler itself. Take a look at its dual tower design. Our two 120mm ARGB fans. Coolermaster's logo and branding on them. Look at it from the other side. Here's a look at the very bottom with our 6 heat pipes. Peel off the sticker before use, and you'll see our 2 mounting screws right there. Now let's go ahead, let's get this thing installed. All right, take a look. We have the cooler installed. Everything looks great. You'll see that with this fit, it's gonna take up a lot of space in here, not only from a height perspective, but you'll see the width of this cooler as well. So just pay attention on your build with your RAM. Make sure you have either low profile sticks, or you just need to position this a little bit like we did, where we have this extra slight little lip up at the top because the fan's just resting on our Corsair Vengeance RAM. So just keep that in mind as you go about planning your build to make sure that you'll have the right fit. What's nice, these fans are just on 2 simple clamps. So in our case, we put the RAM in first, then we installed the cooler, then we clipped the fans on. So we got that nice snug fit there. You can do something similar with your build. Love the RGB too. You may notice they basically have a halo version of this cooler as well that has the cool halo fans giving you that RGB glow on the side. As I've used those units too, I do miss having that extra little bit of glow there for the RGB, just adding that much more appeal to the cooler overall, but nothing wrong with these fans. Beautiful RGB on the blades. Now let's go ahead, let's look at the temps. On second thought, I got a little bit ahead of myself. I wanted to show you the RGB showcase first, so we're gonna cycle through all the different lighting effects that we have right out of the box. So you'll see couple of rainbow effects here. Look really nice. The fan blades doing a really good job diffusing that light. And then we'll have some other lighting effects too, jumping through all the colors or just some individual colors. You can see some of the light leaking through on the side, so you will be able to see some from the front, which is great for that fan there. Well, I like that one. That's cool. And then you'll see we kind of have some more solid colors. Cool little pulsing, in and out, ebb and flow sort of thing. You can really pick and choose what you prefer. Decently bright too. I like how they look. It helps to have that white case too, just diffusing the light, a little bit better reflection. Coolermaster purple, can't go wrong with that. Ice white. And then we're back to the rainbow. So first up, we'll be looking at the idle temps with all of our panels in place. Keep in mind, these are just our own findings from our own particular build. We don't have an exhaust fan or any additional fans in this case. We do have a GPU installed, so there's a lot of variables depending on your build where your results will vary. But at idle speeds, you'll see that we're averaging about 38 degrees Celsius at idle for our CPU temp. We've peaked at around 40 degrees Celsius. And just for fun, you're seeing our GPU temp right now at about 34 degrees Celsius at idle. Now let's go ahead, let's stress this CPU out, and we'll see what we're getting. So under full load, you'll notice that we jump right up to the 95 degrees Celsius limit for our AMD 7000 series CPUs. In this case, we're using the AMD 7700X. Again, our CPU is being utilized at 100%, and we're actually maxing and stressing out the GPU as well, so you'll see that GPU temp fluctuate. But we're building up a lot of nice heat in our case to really see how this cooler is going to perform. You'll notice right now our CPU is operating at 4.77 gigahertz. That's still above the base clock of 4.5 gigahertz, so that's great to see with this. Other than that, let's go ahead, let's try another program and let's see the results. Now using Cinebench R23, we're still stressing out the CPU, 100% utilization. We're at that 95 degrees Celsius cap, and you'll see we're getting right around 5 gigahertz out of the CPU with the cooler being maxed out. So this has 4.5 base up to 5.4 gigahertz with your max turbo blah blah blah, whatever that may be. So in this case, we're still above the base at 5 gigahertz with everything stock. We haven't undervolted anything or tweaked anything within our BIOS settings. So looking at some other findings and forums online, that seems well within range. So it's great to see that it does not appear that this cooler is hampering or hindering anything out of this CPU when you max it out. And AMD is the one that put that 95 degrees Celsius protection in there for the CPU so you don't end up ruining anything. From my experience looking up online too, it appears that that's not a big deal either. I guess technically it would be designed and engineered that you could run it at 95 degrees Celsius 24/7. That seems a little wild to me, but hey, that means like we got a really good high quality CPU if that's the case, and a cooler that's going to help keep it cool while still giving us some great performance here right under that 5 gigahertz threshold. So now let me share with you my final thoughts after using this cooler. Here's what I want to say. Everything looks great, it's working great, and I'm really pleased with the build quality overall. I think the only thing I personally would tweak with this particular cooler is the RGB connections are so tiny on the included fans. It's really hard to get them into the included adapter. I didn't have any issues, but I do want to point that out. It might just take an extra minute to do that. So I'd love to have some larger connections there to be easier to work with, but maybe you're a little bit more talented than I am. Other than that, I'd love to see triple fans. It would be so cool if we had a third fan that came by default with this cooler, especially if the cost didn't increase that much. I don't know. At least for me, I have plenty of room to add that third fan. That would just look really sweet to have just this really big, beefy, intimidating cooler in our build. But overall, so far so good. Under that full load too, the fans are decently quiet, so not too loud. I was hearing more fan noise from my 3 intake fans than I was from any of the fans on the cooler right there. So that just probably speaks to the way that this is able to dissipate heat. They're not going to be spun up as fast as maybe our intake fans. Not really sure why that's the case, but overall not too loud or anything along those lines. So basically it comes down to what works best for your build, and that's only something you can decide.